A number of you have expressed an interest in using Moodle as either a full course or a partial course tool. So I thought I would show you three of my Moodle classrooms. These are all used in conjunction with face-to-face interaction with students. So they're my regular classes, but we have Moodles. And I'll walk you through them. The first one up is a Visual Media 2 class. It's a filmmaking class. I provide kids with a lot of different models, resources, and you can see it's project oriented. So here's the last project. It was at Messalonskee High School. What's special about Messalonskee? This was the prompt. I gave them a couple links. One was let's see, this was a video, some type of video. I'm not going to bother opening all these, it'll really slow it down. But, you know, this was a Vimeo model from another school that I thought would be very helpful for them to see. They can play this at their own leisure. I showed a similar model and then I pointed them to this one so they could go through it. And another link was to Wikipedia, which we kind of use as a guide for a number of different shots. So they had seen these things before in different ways, but they could now go back to them over and over. You'll see that this is the prior project, which was creating documentaries, and you can see how this is all grayed out. That's no longer visible to students. If I wanted to show you what my students would see, the Moodle looks like this. Okay, and I do that so that it's very clear it's not distracting to kids. They don't get lost in things. If I wanted to light up something else, let's say that you know, just I had some kids still working on this, telling other people's stories. I would just turn editing on and open this little blinky, and then everything comes to life here. If I had a bad example, let's say that I really didn't want this one anymore. This was a bad one. Just simply deleting it, making a quick change. So there are times when I have, or hiding a specific thing. There are times when I've opened an assignment like this, and a day later I realize that it's just too crazy. There's way too much there. I'll show you an example of that. So I might close up a few things, and it looks much less overwhelming for kids. So that's one. This was another visual media class, and again, this had lots of different projects. These are a little text heavy. I try to lighten things up as you've seen within your class where there's different kinds of images. And I typically provide access to models, so these are all different films for kids to watch. And I might say, you know, check out three of these. They're all different kinds of PSAs. Remember this classic, Your Brain on Drugs? For kids, it's like, wow, that's like so different. So anyway, that's really helpful. In a sense, you can look at the way I'm using Moodle in some of these as almost kind of a digital locker, where instead of my having all these links on my own computer, now kids can access them as well. That, I think, was a big change for me in my teaching practice. I would show a bunch of models for students. Here's what a good film looks like. Here's what a good piece of writing looks like. But if they weren't there that day, or they had a band lesson, or they just needed to see it again, chances are that was kind of difficult to arrange. You know, I had to get my computer out again, show something again. But this time they could look at things over and over and over. You'll see in some of these, you know, I've made the standards very obvious. I kind of stopped cutting and pasting from the MLR, and we unpack the standards together. The From my perspective, one of the things I like is I can click on participants and I can see everyone in the course as well as when they've last accessed. So yeah, okay, so this is, quite old, 100 plus days. For me, that's a help because I can see if someone has even read the assignment. There are times when a student will say, this doesn't make any sense. I don't know what we're supposed to do. It's stupid. And I'll say, gee, I can see that you haven't read any or seen any of these examples. So why don't you go back and look at all this? And then we'll have that conversation. It puts a lot more responsibility on the student, and that's why I really like this. So here's an English class. This was a sophomore English, and you will see, things very similar to what you've seen, okay? The syllabus, standards. Instead of a student lounge, we had an online parking lot. Many of these are closed up right now because this was rather late in the course, so we no longer needed a lot of things open. But some of those flipped classroom things, the revision for superheroes using quotes, those stayed live the whole time. So you'll see assignments, some of my rubrics pop up for students, and I've set them to, when they click them, they put them on their computer, that they don't have a choice. So students always have the rubric or scoring guide very obvious right there. Some things are resources. You'll see I do use SAS, Curriculum Pathways. And, I've tried to emphasize this idea that the students can complete these things at their own pace to a degree, and we can certainly talk about that more. I like this because I can make very fast changes if I realize that, whoops, I closed a few things too early, or students suddenly are missing resources. You'll see as I open and close things, my screen moves about. I can change the look of this very quickly. There's a lot here. This is a course that is very, very developed. And if students saw all this at once, they would totally freak out. So I'm really try to be very aware of what students are seeing. And even this is a little heavy for high school students to be looking at. So that's a quick overview of Moodle. You can see the other courses I'm somehow involved in. I do not use grades on Moodle. I find it very clunky to use, and I think students find it crazy to use. It's also not, tied in with the online grade system. And I try to keep my own profile pretty up to date. I think that's an important thing, is keeping your profile pretty friendly. I can pop on anytime and see who's on. I can see what's been going on. We generally do not use the blogs in Moodle, and that's because when my students are blogging, they're using WordPress or Weebly or something else because they are a little more out there. But at that stage in the game, they're pretty responsible, and I've been working with them really steady. Periodically, I back up my my Moodle, and it's very simple. For those of you who are thinking of using Moodle, you turn editing on. This is the administration window, by the way. All your settings here. And just clicking backup will give you a file, so I can show you that. Settings, I can change the name of my course at any time. I just left my job and I don't want them to delete my course yet. I can block this, so this course, it's only open by enrollment key. My students have to have a key. I tend to use pretty easy ones, let me in. I could get rid of this and let it be open to anyone, but because it does have student work in there, I still keep that closed. And I can add other people. So if I want to have another teacher look in on this, I could do that as well. And that's about it. One of the neat things with Moodle are all these question marks. So if I have help with like format, I can click that and it tells me the different kinds of formats that I can select from, and I can pick the right one. So Moodle offers a lot of cool things, and I hope that's helpful. All right, thanks for listening.